UFC Austin. These are the early predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Beneil Dariush versus Arman Tsarukyan. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. And also note, I will be live for the entire UFC Austin fight card Saturday, December 2nd, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. Also, I'll be doing a follow-up full card prediction show next Sunday with the official picks, dropping them then. So make sure you guys tune into that too. So let's start it off. First fight on the card, we have Jamey-Lyn Horth versus Veronica Hardy. I got to go towards the side of Jamey-Lyn Horth. I think she's got a big physicality edge. I feel that she's stronger than Hardy. I think she hits harder, and I feel like controlling the clinch is going to be favoring the side of Horth. I do think Hardy lets her hands go pretty nicely, and I feel like she's fairly smooth, at least in a recent comeback fight, what we saw from her against Juliana Miller. But nonetheless, still 7-4-1 as a pro. She took on Juliana Miller, who's turned out to be an Ultimate Fighter bust. And Jamey-Lyn Horth, I feel like, is a tough Canadian that's strong, coming off a W over Haley Cohen, who was supposed to be a good prospect. I'm going to pick Jamey-Lyn Horth to win a decision. I think Veronica Hardy has gotten better since her initial UFC run and then retirement. But I still feel like Jamey-Lyn Horth is going to have an edge on her. She's going to outmuscle her on the inside and win a hard decision here. I'll pick Horth on the cards. As far as the odds for the fight, close money, -130 for Horth with Veronica Hardy at +110. I'll tell you straight, guys. This is not a fight I'd be going to the betting side on. Like, I'm not into betting this fight at all. I think Jamey-Lyn Horth definitely can win, and I think there's a real chance that we're going over 2.5 in this fight. But Horth, 6-0, 33. Veronica Hardy does have the UFC experience. I just can't get the Bia Malecki loss out of my mind, this one here. Even though it was like nearly 4 years ago, I think Horth's physicality being 3 inches taller, also with 3 inches of reach, and then just being the stronger and naturally larger girl, I see Horth getting it done. I'm going Horth, decision win to start the night off. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, we have Wellington Turman versus Jared Gooden. I'm going to pick Wellington Turman to beat Jared Gooden, but I really don't love the side of Turman. It's just he dropped to 170, and he put up a pretty decent performance in a loss to Randy Brown, who was a big favorite against him and, kind of expected to squash him. Turman was competitive at moments of the fight. He has good jiu-jitsu. He has good Muay Thai. He trains with Alex Pereira and Glover Teixeira. He's young at only 27, and I think that 170 is a better weight class than 185 pounds for him. In the sophomore appearance here, then you give him a Gooden who's not all that high tier. I mean, he got back into the UFC on a short notice fight against Carlston Harris, but he was cut a while ago, and I believe he had initially the 1-3 run in the UFC, now 1-4. Even though Turman takes a lot of L's, nonetheless, I think this matchup here, he can win. And it's not an easy one, though. I feel like Gooden's harder with his punches. He does bring the reach advantage in. But I think Turman's going to be better with his kicks. I feel like he can threaten with grappling and eventually get Gooden into bad spots on the ground. I'm not overconfident of Turman, though, finding the finish. I think Turman can get a competitive and hard-fought decision. But Gooden's a good athlete. And I don't love seeing Turman at like 2-1 favorite status. He's -193, the favorite. Gooden +168. I'll take Turman on the cards. I think he wins it 29-28. I feel like in the first round, Gooden might land some big punches. But Turman, I think the chin is going to hold up for. Yeah, not my favorite matchup. 2 in a row where it's like, listen, betting side, not my favorite. Especially this one. I'm picking Turman, who's 2-1. And I think that he's in a bit of a pick'ems fight here with Gooden, who punches hard, who has long reach, but like at times his hands are low and I think he's hittable. And I also feel like he slows down in the later stages of the fight, where I think Turman at 170 is going to be able to capitalize on some of those potential I don't want to say gas tank issues with Gooden, but later in the fight, slowing down, Turman's grappling, I think, is going to be more powerful. So I'm going to pick Turman to get a decision win over Gooden here. Next fight on the card, it's Ihor Potieria versus Rodolfo Bellato. I think that Rodolfo Bellato is going to squash Ihor Potieria. I think he's going to hurt him on the feet and then strangle him on the ground. I'm going to pick Bellato to win by submission. I think he's way better than Potieria. I'm not a big Potieria guy. You can say that I'm bitter about the way he celebrated after the Shogun Rua win, maybe, but then he got beaten up by Alberg. He lost to Negumeriano before that. He had a win on Contender Series. Bellato's a menace, man. His losses as a pro are against Vitor Petrino, who's one of the hottest prospects at light heavyweight right now. And I still think Bellato's a good prospect. He has a submission threat. He has quality striking, and he's very physically strong. He's got a big frame, the thick neck. I feel like he can bully Potieria a bit, back him up, hit him with hard punches, and eventually work towards dominant grappling position. And I feel like he finds a choke, rear naked probably. I'm going to say Bellato by submission in this fight here. Now, as far as the odds, Bellato's minus 400. He's a big favorite. Potieria plus 330. At open, we had minus 300, so it's even spread wider. I feel like he finds a rear naked choke in the second round. Obviously, Mystic Mac calling it is risky, but I just think that Potieria early could survive an onslaught, and then Bellato starts to take over this fight. And then second round, you see him really do some damage and end up getting a submission finish. So going Bellato for the sub in our third fight of the night. Next fight on the card, we have Steve Garcia versus Melquizael Costa. I'm going to pick Melquizael Costa, but I'll say this. Steve Garcia definitely has a puncher's chance. He's got 2 straight KO wins. I just think Costa could catch him with straight shots down the line and potentially hurt Steve Garcia. He did get knocked out being Steve Garcia against Mahashate. It was a while ago now, 3 fights back. And he got hurt bad last time against Shailan Nordenbeke, but was able to withstand a powerful storm by Nordenbeke, survive, and then knock him out in the second round. I think here Costa is more calculated and technical with his kickboxing than the side of a Nordenbeke. And I think when he finds counter strikes, he does significant damage and also has the grappling skill where he could follow up. I could see Costa winning by knockout. That's going to be my official call in this fight here. I do think he can find Steve Garcia's chin, but Garcia's not chinny, man. He's got 1 KO loss as a pro, but he was knocked down bad against Nordenbeke, but showed good recovery capabilities. I just think Costa's a lot more slick in the stand-up. Steve Garcia has like a crazy wide stance too, which I think Costa could potentially take advantage of from kickboxing range, attacking the legs here. So I am going to pick the side of Costa to beat Garcia in this fight here. He's a little bit of a favorite at minus 193 to Garcia at plus 168. I think Costa definitely deserves the favorite tag. He's a prospect on his way up here at 145. He came into the UFC subbed by Moises up a weight class. Moises has got tricky jiu-jitsu. And then beat up Austin Lingo, who's a real durable and tough guy. Now he fights Steve Garcia, another striker, which I think this favors Costa. But I'll tell you though, if Costa gets overzealous and overconfident, Steve Garcia's got a mean overhand shot. And he definitely has power where he could do damage in a fight that he's behind on. So Costa minding his P's and Q's, I think technically breaks down Steve Garcia. And I think he can knock him out in this fight. Second or third round knockout. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, we got Joe Solecki versus Drakkar Klose. I'm going to pick Joe Solecki to win here. He's the younger guy, and I actually think he's going to end up putting Drakkar Klose on his back. I know that Solecki's going to be shooting early on. He's pretty strong, man. He's not a crazy good striker. I would say that he's okay in the stand-up, but his stand-up is going to more so lead him into wrestling attempts. And I think Solecki's going to be looking to wrestle from early in this fight. Now, Klose has decent takedown defense, and he can bring wrestling pressure to and threaten. He's got a decent bounce to his striking, and I would say in a kickboxing match, I favor Drakkar Klose. I just think the youth of Solecki, the takedown potential, and his ability to take the back is very good. that I think he can garner some control time here against Drakkar Klose and threaten with a sub. I could see Solecki getting a submission. I could see a finish here in this fight. Drakkar Klose gets his back taken, Solecki all over it, and locks up a rear naked. I'm going to pick Solecki by sub. I'm like favoring the side of violence a lot on this card. And this matchup is definitely one of them. I definitely feel like a decision for Solecki isn't crazy, though. It's just him taking Klose's back and finding the rear naked seems to make sense for me, man. I think Solecki's got a pretty good grappling game. He's consistently going to be shooting, and I think that's going to give difficulty to Drakkar Klose. So I'm going to ride with Solecki's side, man. I have a hard time seeing him just getting chinned on the feet, too. Solecki plus 110, slight underdog. Drakkar Klose minus 130 is the favorite. We'll go Solecki as a close money dog in this fight is the pick here. Next fight on the card, we got Cody Brundage versus Zach Reese. I think this is a pretty straightforward fight. Zach Reese is going to destroy Brundage. How does he do it? I think that he's going to end up finding a sub. I think he hurts him on the feet, but I think he finds a submission. Brundage from early in this fight is going to be looking to wrestle. I think Zach Reese is going to give him a lot of difficulty with takedown defense, and then Brundage being forced to strike. I can see him running away from Reese as Reese is landing with big punches and kicks. And then Reese, to me, finding a sub, even in the later stages of the first round, is making a lot of sense. I'm going Reese by submission. He's coming off a big W on Contender Series. It was a minute in over Eli Aranov. On the side of Brundage, he's got a win in his last fight, but he was getting destroyed by Jacob Malhoun, and we ended up getting a somewhat questionable disqualification win for Brundage, which, got him a UFC win, keeps him in the octagon, snaps a 3-fight losing streak, but he still wasn't doing well in that match. And I think Zach Reese is going to run him over. This is obviously a fight booked to build Zach Reese as a prospect against Cody Brundage, who I think is going to just fall into Reese's game. So Reese is a minus 275 favorite. Yeah, he's a big favorite, but he's going to win the fight. Plus 235 for Brundage as a dog. I don't think he has much of a chance here. Inside distance for Reese, if you think there's potential of him getting a knockout, because it's definitely possible, but I feel like he's going to end up looking for a sub. I could see him taking Brundage's back and strangling him. Reese for the W. Reese for the submission. Next fight on the card, the ladies going after it. We got Miesha Tate versus Julia Avila. I'm going to pick Miesha Tate. Julia Avila hasn't fought in like 2.5 years, and I know Miesha Tate was coming off of a crazy layoff before a comeback, and she hasn't fought in a year and 4 months. It's just I think Miesha can out-wrestle Avila. Small positions in the clinch that favor the side of Miesha Tate, and Avila kind of not being crazy impressive in her UFC run. I mean, she's been in the UFC a while now. What is she, 3-1 in the UFC? But activity obviously very low, and that's due to injuries. I think Miesha Tate could give her difficulty in the wrestling. Avila's hands are decent, but I feel like she's awkward at times. And Avila also got out-wrestled by Sijara Eubanks, and I think that Tate could kind of employ a similar game as such and end up out-wrestling Avila. So I'm going to pick Miesha Tate to win this fight on the scorecards. I'll take her by a decision. She lost to Lauren Murphy at flyweight. Ketlin Vieira beat her in a 5-round fight at bantamweight, which is where this fight takes place. And then, her last win was Marianne Renault, who was like 43 at the time of the fight. So I'm picking Miesha Tate to get the W. I'll say decision. Definitely decision. She's a dog, though, plus 130. Avila minus 150 is the favorite. Yeah, I'm going Miesha Tate for the win. Slight underdog here for her in this fight. I think that she's going to end up getting control on the ground and end up winning on the cards. I can see Avila doing damage with the striking in the first and then Tate winning the second and third. I'll take Tate on the judge's decision here. And it's not like Avila's that much younger. There's a 2-year age difference between these two. And obviously Tate reaching UFC champ status. Avila has not. And I think with the win, we go Tate Holly Holm rematch. Featured prelim of the night, it's Clay Guida versus Joaquim Silva. I think Joaquim Silva is going to end up beating Clay Guida. I can see him landing good strikes on the feet. I don't think he's going to stun Clay Guida to a point where we feel like the fight is almost over, but I think he'll threaten Clay Guida with powerful strikes, which kind of limit the way he's able to close the gap and look to wrestle. I think there will be moments of Clay Guida shooting takedowns, and I think he could definitely land a couple in this fight. But I see Silva bursting back up to the feet. I don't see Clay Guida doing a lot of damage from top. And I could even see Silva reversing position and finding spots on Clay Guida in the grappling transitions. Now, can Silva find the finish? Could he end up subbing him? I feel like Silva's more known for the power too, right? Neto BJJ is the nickname though, so you got to think he's got a wrestler that he's fighting against. He'd like to strangle him or find an armbar, but more likely a guillotine or a rear naked choke, I would assume, for Joaquim Silva. I'm going to pick Silva to win, but for Clay Guida, if you're very superstitious, he lost to Mark Madsen, he beat Leonardo Santos, he lost to Claudio Puellas, he beat Scott Holtzman, he lost to Rafa Garcia. He should win, if you're into superstition, against Joaquim Silva in this fight. But I just think Silva's game is going to be tricky at this point for Clay. The more athletic and powerful striker, I like his Muay Thai. He could hurt Clay on the feet, which limits the grappling. And I feel like the takedown defense and, get-ups are going to be solid for Silva, who's also coming off of a fight against Arman Tsarukyan, who's in the main event. Whereas, Guida's coming off the loss to Rafa Garcia. Before that, he beat Jesse Ronson. Like, I look at Silva and I think, okay, he's coming off of a fight against a legit top caliber guy, and he put up a pretty good performance. So we know Silva's got a decent game, even though inactivity has kind of struck his career, right? 2 years and 4 months ago, Rick Glenn knocks him out. Nasrat Haqparast KO'd him 4 years ago, but he beat Jared Gordon by knockout almost 5 years ago, and that aged pretty well because Gordon's very good. I'm picking Silva for the W. I'm going to say he gets it done. Not an easy fight with Clay, but one that he can win. Minus 184 for Silva. Guida plus 159. I'm going Silva. I'll say decision in this fight because knocking out Clay Guida just doesn't seem all that likely here. He's got a great chin, and he's a vet of the game. Next fight brings us to our main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Khalil Rountree Jr. versus Azamat Murzakanov. I got to go Azamat Murzakanov to beat Khalil Rountree. And it's not easy, though, because Khalil is a powerhouse. But as we get into the second and third round, I think Murzakanov is going to have a better pace, more accuracy, and I think he can outstrike Khalil and end up getting it done on the judges' scorecards, similarly like to how we beat Jacoby on the judges' scorecards. That's actually a common opponent. Dustin Jacoby, Khalil Rountree has a controversial win over, where I thought the decision could have went the other way. And then Azamat has a win over Jacoby that was pretty convincing, where he did some damage to Dustin Jacoby, the Glory kickboxer. 13-0 for Azamat Murzakanov. And also striker. Khalil, striker, powerhouse. Murzakanov looking slick. I feel like he's going to end up getting the W. I'm going Murzakanov on the decision. I'm thinking we could see 29-28. If he knocked out this version of Khalil Rountree, that would be absolutely impressive. The last loss was Prochnio, and that fight, regardless of, yes, Khalil's gotten better. Yes, his power looks scarier than ever with the knockout of Chris Daukaus, but I don't forget that fight. And second and third round, Murzakonov's slickness is going to take over. Even though the fundamentals of the Muay Thai are there for Khalil Rountree, he does not have as technical and pure of a striking game as Murzakanov. I'm going to pick Murzakanov to win. I think he's really coming into his own in his UFC career. He attacks the body well, too, with straight shots, which is something positive that I'll say about him. And this is a cool battle of southpaws as well for Murzakanov and Khalil Rountree. So I'm interested to see that southpaw versus southpaw battle. I just think that the bouncing style, the straight punches, and slickness of Murzakanov are going to be the ultimate difference maker. Khalil hits very hard. He has crazy power in his punches. And if they land flush, they can do a lot of damage. Has a Muay Thai-esque style that I think Murzakonov's going to find body shots on, which is kind of like his bread and butter to his game, is mixing it up high and low. So I'm going Murzakanov for the win. I'm saying a decision victory over Khalil. Now, Murzakanov is a slight favorite at minus 145. He opened all the way at minus 275. That's crazy. He opened crazy. Wow, we were even at even money a few days ago. Khalil's a plus 125 dog. I think Mirzakhanov is going to get the win, guys. His slickness is real. Look at the UFC past 3. It's Jacoby, clean W. Devin Clark, knockout win. Tafon Chukwi gave him a tricky fight. Fair, but he did ultimately find the knockout. And I don't want to judge him by his worst performance against Chukwi when he destroyed Dustin Jacoby, who's very good. And then on the other side, you look at Khalil's wins. Modestas Bukauskas, sick win there. Carl Roberson. I mean, they're impressive wins, but, name value-wise, they're not creme de la creme. Jacoby fight, split decision, controversial. And then he knocked out Dawkins with one big punch. But let's be honest, Dawkins was on a bad knockout losing streak and seems to struggle with heavy-handed fighters. Mirzakhanov's slickness is the ultimate difference maker. He wins a decision over Khalil Rountree. And look at that reach, 71.5 to 76.5, 4 inches favoring Khalil. But I still feel like Mirzakhanov is able to close the gap, and I don't think Khalil does a great job of working off of a jab to keep Mirzakhanov off of him. I could see Mirzakhanov, the shorter guy, having more success with a jab. So Mirzakhanov for the W, decision win to start the main card. Next fight on the main card, we have Punahele Soriano versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I think Soriano should knock him out. It should be pretty one-sided. It shouldn't be more than 2 rounds. Soriano is going to look to come out and throw hard punches from very early on. Stoltzfus, a decent kickboxer, karate-esque stand-up style. I think he's a bit upright. And I see him struggling with the boxing pressure of Soriano, who I know is going to look to land some absolute bombs. Unfortunately for Soriano, when you look like, the Brendan Allen loss aged beautifully because Brendan Allen is extremely good. We learned that last Saturday. He's a legit top contender. And then Nick Maximov split decision. It was just a weird fight where Maximov was just trying to wrestle him the whole time. Beat Dolce Ligiambula by knockout. It's a nice win. And then Roman Kopylov, who's turned out to be an absolute nightmare of a striker, got a win over Soriano. So, I mean, the losses as of recent are not that horrible for Soriano in retrospect. In the moment, they looked bad, but now not so much. Dustin Stoltzfus on the other side, Abus Magomedov front kick knockout he's coming off of last time out. Got a win over Dwight Grant, who was a blown-up welterweight. Gerald Mearshart subbed him. Rodolfo Vieira subbed him. And then Kyle Dawkins got him in the cards. I think that Soriano can knock him unconscious. I think the hands are going to be on fire here. I think Stoltzfus, like I said, a bit upright, and I think that's going to be difficult to deal with the Soriano pressure. Also, extreme couture for Soriano. We know he's got a decent wrestling game, at least defensively, and I think he could even take Stoltzfus down. Yeah, I'm going knockout win for Soriano in this fight. Minus 280. Soriano's a big favorite, and he opened at minus 325. Stoltzfus a plus 240 underdog. I like the side of Soriano. I like the side of win by knockout. I think it's going to be in the first 2 rounds. I see Stoltzfus getting caught with a hook, and I think he's going to end up dropping and getting finished with ground and pound. So Soriano for the W, knockout. Next fight on the card. Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum. Gastelum's return to 170 pounds. Let me know in the comments, guys. I want a prediction on this. Does Kelvin Gastelum make weight? Because we know historically he's missed weight at 170. He was fighting at middleweight. Now he said he's dialed in. He's cutting back down. But can the dude put down the cheesecake? I don't know. Kelvin Gastelum has historically struggled with weight, but having an extremely good skill set that I've always felt he could have been a top tier contender at 170 pounds. Top 15 guy at 85. But I think he could be like a top 6 guy, top 7 guy at 170 pounds if you could dial it in. So now you match him up with Sean Brady. I'm picking Kelvin Gastelum to win a decision here. Gastelum is definitely the better boxer. He's going to have the wrestling defense to give Brady trouble. I don't think Brady with the hands can do a ton to Kelvin Gastelum, who I just see with the slicker boxing game and more power on the feet. I think Gastelum's calculated and he wins a decision over Sean Brady. Could he knock him out like Bilal was able to do with Brady last time? Definitely possible. I'm going to say decision. I don't know. I'm thinking we get a more conservative Gastelum. Brady unable to take Gastelum down. Gastelum able to get the hands flowing a bit. And I think Kelvin Gastelum can get a decision. I feel like he's going to end up winning on the judges' scorecards. Convincingly. Not like an absolute beatdown, but I think he's going to get a convincing win. I definitely see his striking as better than Sean Brady's. And I also think that Sean Brady's going to be unable to get Kelvin Gastelum onto his back. So I can't really see Brady out-grappling Gastelum from top. And I don't see Brady pulling guard and using a reversal to get on top. I think if Gastelum's on top of Brady, he's throwing a bit of ground and pound and securing top position and, getting control. I was going to say just holding, but no, he'll let some hands go. I'm going to pick Gastelum on the cards, but it wouldn't be nuts if Gastelum could put them together and get a knockout. And I'll tell you, for his stock, it would skyrocket with that. Gastelum is a slight underdog at plus 100. I don't even get how he's a dog here. Minus 120 Brady. I guess it's even Stevens money, essentially. But Gastelum is technically a slight underdog, and I'm going to go underdog. Gastelum opened that plus 100 as a dog. Lines are shifting as we speak. We got an even Stevens type of betting line for these guys. Gastelum with the better hands in the wrestling is able to beat Sean Brady. Bilal beat him last time. His win over Chiesa, at the end of the day, it didn't age like fine wine because Chiesa got subbed by Kevin Holland. And then Jake Matthews, that's a good win. Aguilera, I mean, at the time it was an okay win, but Aguilera's a journeyman. Nadariev. When you look at high-tier competition, okay, the best guy that Sean fought is Bilal, and he got knocked out. Second best is Chiesa, and he did win. You look on this side, you see Chris Curtis as a name with Gastelum having a win over. Jared Cannonier fight. Robert Whittaker, Ian Heinisch, Jack Hermanson. I mean, he's fought a killer's row. Gastelum for a decision, and he shouldn't be an underdog. Next fight on the card is our featured bout of the night. It's Rob Font versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I'm picking Rob Font to knock out Deiveson Figueiredo. I don't feel like Figueiredo's success that he had at 125 is going to translate to 135. I just think that the guys from 25 are going to get beat by the better guys from 35, or the equal skill, like equal rankings type guys, especially Rob Font, whose hands are nasty and he's durable. He's got submission defense. Figueiredo's best chance to win is locking up a sub. I think Figueiredo's best days, unfortunately, are behind him. He did some seriously draining weight cuts to get down to 25 and obviously struggled last fight. Got beaten up by Moreno. Doctor stoppage. His eye was shut. Fight before that, win over Moreno where he looked god tier, but then just seemed to completely lose it because he stopped training with Fight Ready and Henry Cejudo. Brandon Moreno got him by a sub, which was crazy. And then Brandon Moreno and him went to a draw. And then the last win was over Alex Perez. Rob Font on the other side, Adrian Yanez, a recent knockout win for him. Went distance with Corey Sandhagen, gutsy effort on short notice. Marlon Vera decision loss, Aldo decision loss, Garbrandt win. Yeah, I think Rob Font can knock Deiveson Figueiredo out. I think the boxing is going to be a big difference maker between these two. I see them sitting in the feet, and Figueiredo with more the Muay Thai striking style, attacking the leg, getting hit by straights with Rob Font. I think Rob can KO him. I'm worried about Figueiredo at 35. I don't love it for him. Now, I know he can't make 25. I'm concerned about Deiveson Figueiredo moving forward. Former world champion, had a lot of great things going for him. Obviously looking to make another run here at 135, but he's fighting a guy with hella boxing, and I think that's going to be a struggle for him. So I'm going to go with Rob Font. Minus 185 for Font. Figueiredo plus 160. Let's see how Figueiredo looks moving up a weight class, man. Does he fill out the frame beautifully? Does he have a better gas tank than ever? Does he have more power than ever? Because he was known as a big puncher at 125. It's just hard for me to see him doing significant damage to Rob Font. So I'm going Rob Font for the win. I think he could knock him out. He definitely could win a hard-fought decision too. Either way, I'm going Font for the W. Next fight is our co-main event. We have Dan Hooker versus Bobby Green. I'm going to be picking Dan Hooker to get the win, and I actually think he's going to end up knocking Bobby Green out in the third round. Bobby Green has very good hands and boxing, but let's not forget the hands come low, and let's not forget he does get touched sometimes. He's been knocked down before. We've seen it. He's coming off of a sick one-punch knockout of Grant Dawson, but he's not known for his knockout wins. Now you have Dan Hooker, who's a calculated kickboxer who can definitely mix it up and turn it into a brawl. The better kicker is definitely Dan Hooker, especially from the longer range. That's where he's going to shine. I think that Bobby Green gets caught on the outside with Dan Hooker. In the first round, I can see Green having some boxing success. But as we slow down, as the fight gets longer, Hooker attacking the body a bit with kicks, striking from distance, I think you're going to see Green starting to get caught, and he's also going to have his back near the cage. And I think Hooker's going to end up finding the chin and rocking Bobby Green, following up with shots and getting a TKO win with a bit of ground and pound. I'm seeing it against the cage, actually. Dan Hooker for the W. I'm going third round TKO win. He hurts Bobby and he follows up and he ends up beating him here, man. Dan came off a big win. Jalen Turner, that's a huge W. Before that, Claudio Puellos, he defeated. And then you look at the Arnold Allen loss, like it was at first a red flag, but then when you realize he killed himself to make 145 and he can't. He's not a 45er. He's a full-blown 55er. Islam Makhachev's a killer on the ground. He dominated Bobby Green there too. Nasrat Haqparas, dominant decision. And then Grant Dawson win, like I said last time out. Tony Ferguson sub, which was good for Bobby, but let's not forget he got dropped in that fight. He did get touched a bit too. Jared Gordon ended up in a no contest. He did get touched a little early. Drew Dober knocked him out, and then the Makhachev loss, which it's Makhachev. But Dober, he was beating Dober up with the striking, but then Dober found that chin. I think that Dan Hooker gets a W, man. Third round knockout for Dan. Minus 160, Dan Hooker's the favorite. Bobby Green plus 140 is the dog. Yeah, I agree with these lines too. Hooker should be a slight favorite, especially after winning as a huge underdog against Jalen Turner. Dan Hooker, he's still legit as they come. So good W for Dan Hooker last time, and I think he gets a big W here against the surging Bobby Green in a 5-round co-main event. But I think it's going to the third, and that's where Dan Hooker is going to get the job done. Next fight is our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Beneil Dariush versus Arman Tsarukyan. I'm going to pick Arman Tsarukyan in this fight. Better kickboxing game, faster striker, better athlete. Beneil Dariush has good wrestling. He has decent stand-up, and he definitely can deliver big punches from southpaw, especially that left hand. But he's a little bit awkward with the stand-up, and I feel like maybe a little stiff/slow at times. I do think shots down the line can still land. I think Tsarukyan's definitely the better kicker of the two. Look for him to attack with high kicks a bit in this fight, and then mixing in the wrestling. Obviously, Beneil Dariush is known for good wrestling. I think Tsarukyan can find top position. Not an easy fight. I think Beneil Dariush is definitely going to make this a tricky match. I think in the first round, you see Beneil Dariush throwing heat back at Arman. Arman with the speed advantage, putting pressure on Beneil, looking to wrestle him, trying to take him down, having more success than Mateusz Gamrot did in getting Dariush to the ground. And I think Arman is then going to garner some control time. They'll get back up to the feet. There'll be competitive striking moments. It's just, right now, I got to go for Arman for the W. The younger guy by a lot here. A little shorter, but he does have half an inch reach advantage. That speed and that athleticism, I think, is carrying him home. You look at the last win, Joaquim Silva win, which obviously not like crazy impressive, but a win nonetheless. Damir Ismagulov decision win. Ismagulov got dominated on the ground by Tsarukyan, where he shines. Mateusz Gamrot lost, which everybody felt it should have went Tsarukyan's way. Yoel Alvarez knockout win, vicious ground and pound. Yagos knockout win, good striking on display. Beneil Dariush lost to Charles Oliveira, where he had a little bit of top positioning, but then got knocked out on the feet. Mateusz Gamrot, decision win in a 3-round fight that earned a lot of respect for Dariush. Tony Ferguson W, which really bursted him onto the scene. Diego Ferreira, competitive split, but still a win. And then Scott Holtzman, he knocked him out. So Beneil Dariush can definitely strike, but I feel like he could get hurt by a big punch by Arman Tsarukyan. Method of victory, I'm still thinking that we got a real chance of going the full 5 between these two lightweights. I think if there is a finish, I think it's an Arman Tsarukyan TKO. But I'm going to go towards the side of decision for Arman Tsarukyan right now. There's possibility of finish, but I'll officially call Tsarukyan over the 5 rounds, beating Beneil. But something's whispering TKO, though. I'm hearing TKO in my ear. The logical side is telling me TKO, but the heart of the fight fan is telling me knockout. Or rather, the heart of the fight fans tell me knockout. The logical side's telling me decision. But I just said the opposite. You know what? That's destiny. We're going TKO. I'm going Tsarukyan to knock him out in the 3rd or 4th round. Let's go for it. Let's do Tsarukyan a late stoppage. Minus 201 for Arman Tsarukyan. Beneil Dariush plus 171 is the dog. I'm going to go Tsarukyan. I'm saying he gets the knockout. And I think he really lives up to his potential beating Beneil Dariush here. And with the win over Beneil for Arman Tsarukyan, he's putting himself in a great spot to be a potential title challenger in 2024, late stage, or early 2025 if he's able to keep the wins coming. So Arman Tsarukyan for the W. He beats Beneil Dariush. Destiny told me call it knockout, and you guys know I'm slightly superstitious, so we're going Tsarukyan for the TKO. that is UFC Austin. I hope you guys enjoyed the early breakdown. Make sure you guys smash the like button if you haven't, and if you're new, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on, and don't just leave them on personalized. Put them on all so you don't miss a video, because I got daily content dropping on the channel. Let me know what you thought of the predictions in the comments down below. I want to know what you guys are thinking. If you have nothing to say in those comments, but you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. As I said earlier in the video, I'm going to be doing a follow-up video on this next Sunday with a full card official updated breakdown. So make sure you guys tune into that one as well. Still going to be dropping content during the holiday week. Moneyline Monday is bringing the heat, and then Tuesday with the live stream. I'll have some sort of content on Wednesday, and then Thanksgiving Thursday. Depending on the time I'm home, I'll probably end up throwing a live stream Q&A up, and then Friday we got PFL. So keep your eyes peeled on the channel. Don't miss a thing. Still bringing the heat even on the off week. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you all, and I will see everyone in the next one. Peace, guys.